Good morning. Happy Boxing Day. Bridge has been covering the newcomer quite a bit. Yeah, I found the TikTok. She's up there crying because someone corrected her about something in Islam, just like she corrects Foodie Beauty. She can dish it, but can't take it. I'll post videos later. Hashtag hypocrite. Hashtag, I think that was supposed to say white girl tears. Well, Bridge, I think the most of us in the white girl community do not own this one. Okay? Like she's not somebody that that we're owning, okay? All right. So let's move on to this Peetz bullshit. Okay, so Garlic Bread did this morning, but he's been reporting on some side stuff, such as Koki being exceptionally harassing online, putting on Shantel's clothes that he refused to let her come and get her things, right? That's what it looks like from the footage I've seen, is that he wouldn't let her actually retrieve her things from his house. But I also understand that, Shantel, you like to leave things in men's apartments to have a reason to come back, which is pretty gross. I've had a lot of dudes do that to me, and it's fucked up. Okay? Alright, let's see what Garlic Bread has to say.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. So, two things happened yesterday I want to talk about. The first of which, Peetz came online, and listen, he let reaction channels have it. The whole conversation started with how Peetz was going to spend the holidays, his relationship status, and I'm glad to hear that Peetz is going to go see his mother. Possibly his mother's going to make him some brownies. Hopefully his mother remembers that Peetz doesn't like pie. Those are all things he talked about. But it's interesting that the moment they bring up Shantel and the reaction channels, knowing she's in Canada, Peetz says we should all F off. He, of course, goes on to say how desperate we are for content. And I know most of you right now are preparing to type that you can't get frustrated by this. You have to consider the source. And trust me, I do. We're going to have a very candid conversation on this one. Because...
well, and it's entirely possible that he has higher hopes for whatever's going down right now than what could potentially happen, because she's let him down so many times before, right? So even if it was a platonic situation where they're just roomies, you know, she bails out on this shit all the time. She already went to Canada and said she was looking for an apartment last year.
It's interesting that he thinks we are the ones desperate to have something to talk about. Peetz, let's understand. Desperation starts with your former, current best friend. She is the one that was so desperate to see what people might have been saying about her that she clicked a link and gave up her location. And no one agreed with that. No.
Yeah, seriously, like if you ever get a link from an unknown person, well, from anybody really, because it could be somebody's account was hacked, don't click it. Do not click links from random people. You know, And if it is somebody like a trusted source, pick up the phone and call them and say, did you send me this link? Verify it.
Reaction channel took credit for that. That's something she did on her own. Just like the situation with Kai Bella. It's not that everyone came out and agreed with what took place, but we all discussed what took place. He tries to lump everything all together as if we're all having a hand in everything that happens. It's simply not true. And he tries to follow this up with, quote, we have nothing interesting on our own to talk about. Peetz, by all means, should you be the one giving this lecture to reaction channels? I mean, does it not dawn on you?
I mean, yeah, seriously, like, why were you doing this over Christmas? I spent the last 2 days producing Christmas material that was completely unrelated to Girl World. Completely unrelated to the hate surrounding Girl World. I covered a service on Christmas Eve. I had pictures of my mom and I going out to dinner on Christmas Eve, and I posted some stuff on actual Christmas Day that I did Christmas karaoke. Like, why is this so important to you to constantly live stream like this?
That people in your very own chat aren't exactly waiting for what you're interested in. They don't ask when the next Sailor Moon t-shirt haul is going to be, or the next My Little Pony unboxing. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. That's what you have shown a propensity to collect and enjoy. What your chat primarily does is sit there and try to pull any minute detail.
I think the brony thing is weird, but, if that's your bag, whatever. You also like to write stories about grapes, so there's that. You're a grown-ass man. Maybe you need to grow up.
Of Shantel's life out of you. So when you tell us that we have no unique thoughts, it's pretty clear you don't really know who you're speaking on. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I'm going to say in general, most reaction channels keep people entertained. And to be fair, the subject matter has been pretty bland. But that subject matter is also Shantel's life. It's what she puts on camera. I don't see any other reaction channels that are openly putting their life out there. And let's not pretend that Shantel was creating this riveting content. I mean, when she wanted to copyright her content, we all laughed. So when you sit there and tell us that we just make stuff up, let's not forget, a majority of what Shantel spoke about has already been proven untrue. She said she didn't need to go back to Canada. She said she couldn't afford to go back to Canada. She said she physically couldn't go back to Canada, and then tried to package everything up, put a little bow of, well, I need a mental break. The reality is, and we all know it, as I'm sure you do, she was going back home the whole time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's possible that she did have it planned the whole time. She probably already had a return ticket that she could have changed for a different location and apparently did not. She needs to go back, apparently, allegedly, to renew her visa status so she can go back to Kuwait. Though now she allegedly has legal problems in Kuwait with Aisha. And it has been discovered that neither she nor Salah are listed as residents at the building that they live in. And also, Neo Taro, am I saying that right? Predicted that there was some sort of affair going on with Sarah, and then it turned out that she's living in Sarah Towers. If you haven't looked at Neo Taro's reading for Foodie that was about 8 days ago, it was so amazingly spot on that it's crazy. I know French Fried Girl is planning on covering it today. It was crazy spot on for what's been happening. So, Shantel, I wish you the best. I hope that you're not having some sort of health crisis right now. Just, do you and feel better and, like, do what you need to do. But, like, this is all just sort of nonsense chatter around the fact that you're an influential YouTuber, right? So people have questions. And because you've lied to your audience a lot of times, it makes it difficult for them to have any trust. And that's where conspiracy theories come out,
She knew the e-visa was going away, and she needed to protect herself in the event she can't get back to Kuwait, and the best way to do that is to go to a place familiar to her, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what's ironic is what you are doing. So to be clear, in Peetz's world, if a reaction channel says Shantel is going to be on a visa run for a month, that's us not having a life. That's us speculating, having nothing to speak about.
Right.
But when Peetz sits there yesterday and says that Shantel might be gone for up to 3 months, which that's a number no one else had thrown around, that's something completely different. And beyond that, so much of this is just the classic Shantel rhetoric.
I don't know why he would have come up with that number anyway, because she is so distrustful of Salah that I know she wants to get back to him as soon as possible so she can monitor his activities.
That we all need something to do. We all need to be constructive with our channels while Shantel is away. I'm at a level with you, Peetz. Many of us are doing something constructive with our channels. Many of us make a livable wage off our channels. We have found an audience that appreciates us, that watches our content. And as far as you speaking down to any of us, I'm going to say something to you, Peetz, that I am uniquely qualified to say to you.
A little can go a long way.
You admitted you couldn't get hired at a company I spent 15 years working for after submitting multiple applications. So why exactly are you talking to any of us this way? Then you sit there and tell us that we have to have something. And of course that we need to take a break to be with our family. Peetz, I'm going to be honest with you, and I know Shantel hates when I say that, so I know you will as well. I went back and I looked at some numbers. Because I don't want to do what you do. I don't want to sit there and just throw out concepts and not understand the actual...
Yeah, Gorlick Red is a numbers guy. Sometimes a little heavy-handed with being a numbers guy. Like, in these circumstances, I do appreciate it, but I don't need the bragging about your channel stats all the time. I'm just saying, okay?
Logic behind it. So last week, you were live streaming for 15 hours. 90 minutes in addition to that, you spent playing video games. And look, I'm be the last one to push you away from playing games online. Do that to your heart's content. Keep after it. Hope it works out well for you. It changed my life. But the irony of you telling us that we should be spending time with our families because it's the holidays, the same way Shantel would, and almost assuming that we aren't spending time with our families, Peetz, that's pretty bold.
Yeah, it's kind of like Chantel's bark out all the time that, why aren't you have children, you should be at the park. What, like all fucking day? You can't even spend 15 minutes in a park, Shantel.
So, again, I wanted to go to the next level with it, though. I didn't just want to make that statement because, that's a pretty large claim to make. That's a pretty derogatory claim to someone's person, right? That you would rather spend more time online talking about someone or doing something than being with your own family. And I would never make that type of claim without something to back it up. So I will offer to you this. During that same time, Peetz, Yaba was live around 9 hours. FFG was live around 5 hours.
To be fair, that's also because she got a content strike and had to go dark for a week. But I get you. I mean, seriously, she would have only done maybe Thursday, definitely Friday. She loves her Fridays. And she once in a while pops in around the weekends. So she might have gotten a couple hours in on those days each, but and it is, December where you get the highest ad revenue, right? So she might have gotten that, but and she would have gotten this week's revenue. But she got cut short, so the 5 hours is not totally representative of what she would normally do.
Tippy was online about 6.5 hours. Myself, I made around 2.5 hours of content. If you want to be incredibly forgiving and say that it took me twice the amount of time to create it than it did to upload it, that's what, 6 hours? If we double it and then some? So help me understand how the person that is spending more time online than any other one of his peers is making this erroneous claim about time management. He then proceeds to tell us that, all the time spent online is because our family hates us.
Oh, wow.
So to be clear, Yaba streams 6 hours a week because her family must hate her. You can stream over 15 hours because you're prioritizing that time not being on YouTube to be with your family? Sometimes I think it bothers Shantel, but Peetz, to a degree, you understand, this is only part of our day for both reactors and viewers. It's no different than watching a TV show or a sport. Yes, for the window you're watching it, you should probably find entertainment, value, enjoy it, embrace it. But it's not overpowering your life to the point it consumes every passing hour, every thought. However, for Shantel, it is just that. For Peetz, it is still just that. You can literally play Final Fantasy for hours, Peetz. You can have 40 people watch it. You can start to talk about Shantel and reaction channels, and somehow that number multiplies itself by what? 10? It's that logic, Peetz, that makes us all know you would dig right into that bank account if Shantel even so much thought about asking you.
Gross.
And he starts this whole, Shantel is where she says she is. Then they tell him about the email, and he gets very frustrated. Because at this point, he knows the gig is up.
Okay, let's talk about grammar here for a second, garlic bread. I know you addressed this last spring when you said you didn't know when to use lie or when to use lay. And I had already stated on my live streams that people lie, objects lay. So let's get into the grammar of what you just did. The expression is the jig is up. The scheme or deception is revealed or foiled. The jig is up. You've had your last chance. Okay? I just would appreciate if people would learn and improve. That's just where I stand on this, because it seems like there's a whole lot of just areas where people can be critiqued for little things. And that's why Shantel is like calling people ignorant, even though she is far more ignorant than much of the audience around her. Well, maybe not her beezers, but I just would appreciate if people would actually like use the appropriate expressions. And I don't even know what to say about that.
He then tries to say she's in Kuwait in the least confident way possible. Here's the thing. For a while, I know certain people felt almost sorry for Peetz in a way.
Look at how he's sitting, by the way. So, how large is this man at this point? He is sitting where his belly is way the hell up on him. What is going on there, Peetz? And can you definitively tell us if you're using they, them pronouns? What is going on? Because I haven't seen enough on your supposed transition that Shantel has mentioned, alluded to, that she supposedly can't be around men unless they're women, except for Locale Live. Okay.
Forever Chantel's human doormat. But at this point, he's proven this is what he wants. He allows her to walk over him, and time again, we've seen the moment she finds someone else, be it her ex, be it Salah, she runs as far and as fast, the only time she does those things, away from him as possible. It's no longer sad. It's no longer pathetic. It's what he deserves. Now, 11 minutes in, I did say something else happened. It's interesting to me how concepts and stories and themes get taken and then ran with. So if you aren't aware, FFG posted that she was at Farm Boy, which is one of Chantel's favorite stores. Certain reaction channels took that and tried to label FFG as a stalker. Remember a couple days ago I said, in this community, things get blown way out of proportion. The first person story usually isn't correct, but
FFG covered this yesterday on her live stream, that she had already ordered her Christmas dinner from this particular restaurant, and Shantel repeatedly said she was not coming back to Canada.
Everyone is willing to take that and run with it. Wonderful situation happening here. If you didn't watch FFG come back, she addressed it. And she said, listen, I'm a grown adult. I can go where I want, when I want, to do what I want. But she did take the extra step to show what she was picking up there was actually pre-ordered in November. So imagine the thought process of simply taking images of someone in a store and presuming that they must be stalking someone else, and not being fully aware of what you were projecting when that person had actually ordered that dinner to be picked up a month in advance. Now, what's important about that is, for all the things we just spoke about, a month in advance, in the end of November, Shantel was continually saying the rhetoric of, I'm not going back to Canada. I can't afford to go to Canada. I would never go back to Canada. I can't leave my home. I'm too unfit to fly. That is what FFG was doing. So at a time where she would actually be putting herself in a position to never see Shantel, believing Shantel was in a completely different country, she was ordering something that later people would claim she was simply using to facilitate possibly stalking her. Does not seem to make a whole lot of sense. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate each and every one of you watching this. I am going to leave you with the top comments from the last video.
Okay, I'm going to cover some additional material on this. Hang on a second. Okay, so about 5 days ago, another Muslim creator addressed this new entrant to our community who is incredibly hostile and making assumptions and hasn't really dived into the lore of Foodie Beauty, and wanted to contact her husband's dad. She didn't believe he was the Ministry of Education. All right. So let's read what Are You Serious has to say on this topic. There's a creator on YouTube who has declared 2 people as disbelievers. Okay, you're going to have to deal with the fact that I can't say all of the words in Arabic. Quranic verses mention unbelievers, but the Quran does not define apostasy. Rather, the Islamic definition of apostasy is always given by human beings. Man does not have the right to declare takfir. Only God. This is because only God holds the right to decide whether one is a believer or not. And this decision would be made only in the hereafter. As such, takfir declarations made by human beings amount to religious sin under Sharia law. Mainstream Sunni Islam considers it wrong for Muslims to engage in the practice of takfir, excommunication, a right we consider to be held solely by God. Declaring someone a kafir, disbeliever, and subsequently taking their life, yes, life, are acts that nevertheless have been carried out by certain Muslim groups for centuries, right through the Khawarij in the 7th century CE, through the Al-Zarq, Al-Zarq led Iraqi insurgency. And the so-called Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS. I tried to cover this the other night on one of my live streams, that when she was celebrating the unrest in Syria, that she didn't know who was actually going to be taking over government, considering that ISIS controlled the western part of the country. The Kurds were fighting up in the north, and apparently there was a third terrorist group that has now taken over the government. So there's that. Yes, ISIS in modern times. She provides a source. Prohibition of calling a Muslim an infidel. IBN Imar, may Allah be pleased with them, said. Oh, what happened? Did it disappear? Oh, it scrolls down and goes to the next post, I guess. The Messenger of Allah said, when a person calls his brother in Islam a disbeliever, one of them will certainly deserve the title, if the addressee is so as he has asserted. The disbelief of the man is confirmed, but if it is untrue, then it will revert to him. Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Riyadh as Salihin, 1732, Book 17, Hadith 222. Abdu Dahar, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I heard the Messenger of Allah saying, if someone accuses another of disbelief or calls him the enemy of Allah, such an accusation will revert to him, the accuser, if the accused is innocent. Well, that's a lofty goal right there. Are you serious? That is a lofty goal right there. Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Riyadh as Salihin. I'm doing my best, girl. 1733, Book 17, Hadith 223. Well, I certainly appreciate that you put that up, because it has become, from just educating us on how she's breaking the religious laws, to like outright harassment, because she's not actually covering any of her materials, right? And this gal was bragging about being an internationally famous rapper. And one of the places that she bragged about playing, that it was a world famous venue, which it is. It is a world famous venue. It's been around for ages and ages. The Whiskey A Go Go is a small dive bar on the Sunset Strip, girly pop. And it mainly plays garage bands. They might do single features once in a while, but even that, it's very small. So I don't know what you're bragging about there. And if that's the size of the venues you were booking worldwide, then I don't think you have anything to brag about at all in regards to that particular fad that you were into. But anyway, let's continue on. We still have Happy New Year's to come to, shall we?